At 3 o'clock in the morning in Yewu, Zhongming stared at the computer screen, his fingertips trembling slightly on the keyboard. The Christmas lights and plush toys piled up in the warehouse were like small mountains, pressing him to the point of suffocation. 3 days ago, the news that the United States announced a 25% tariff on China came, and 70% of his foreign trade orders were cancelled overnight. The bank's collection text messages rang on time every 2 hours, and the flashing number on the Bitcoin trading platform became his last hope. It fell, and fell again. He muttered to himself. 3 months ago, he exchanged all his savings for Bitcoin, hoping that this digital gold could hedge the risk of RMB depreciation. But now, the Kalen image is like a sharp sickle, cutting his heart. An email popped up in the lower right corner of the screen, and the head of the American customer Jonathan was particularly dazzling in the dark. "Zhong, the tariff has doubled the cost, and we can only give up the order, lest you can reduce the price by 40%. Zhongming grabbed the half can of beer on the corner of the table and took a gulp. A 40% price cut means losing money on every order. But if the price is not cut, the goods worth $2 million in the warehouse will rot into waste. In a trance, he remembered the speech he heard at the blockchain summit last week. Bitcoin is the Noah's Ark of the free market. It can survive any policy flood. The finger suddenly opened the dark web forum uncontrollably. An encrypted post is hotly discussed. Southeast Asian merchants use Bitcoin to bypass foreign exchange controls and use virtual currency to directly settle cross-border trade. The comment area is jumping with tempting cases. A Wenzhou boss imported rubber from Vietnam with USDT. Tether and the profit margin quadrupled. The next morning, Zhongming called Jonathan's overseas phone. "We can settle with Bitcoin," he heard his hoarse voice trembling. "Real-time arrival, no intermediary bank deduction." There was a long silence on the other end of the phone, and the sound of keyboard tapping came. "The currency price fluctuates too much now, unless you accept the locked exchange rate." The transaction was completed at midnight 3 days later, when Zhongming transferred $800,000 worth of Bitcoin to the designated wallet. His sweaty shirt clung to his back. The next day, the customs release notice arrived as scheduled, but Bitcoin plummeted 18% amid the news of the Fed's interest rate hike. He curled up in the corner of the warehouse, watching the numbers jumping on his phone. The batch of goods drifting in the Atlantic Ocean was now continuing to evaporate in another form. Epilogue. When Jonathan sent a new order inquiry, Zhongming had just sold the last Bitcoin. The news of the General Administration of Customs sealing up underground banks was played on TV in a loop. And on his computer screen, 2 windows flashed at the same time. On the left was the central bank's digital currency pilot announcement, and on the right was the tariff hedging artifact newly posted on the dark web. The sea breeze wrapped in a salty smell came in through the rusty iron window, and he suddenly smiled, his fingers hovering between the 2 contracts, as if standing in the middle of the crack between 2 eras.